Well, it's the third day of MSI. I'm joined right now by Mithy from G2. Mithy, at the halfway point of the group stage, everybody was tied at 2-3. SKT, of course, undefeated. What do you think that says about MSI?
It says the gap is closing between us, and the gap between Korea and the rest is the same as always.
I mean, it's how do you feel about G2's performance so far? Obviously, we're now another game in. You guys won, but yeah, how do you feel about the team's performance at the tournament so far?
um, Honestly, best of one suck. That's gonna get that through. And other than that, I feel like we have been making a lot of pretty shitty decisions in a lot of the games, and we haven't really been winning many early games except for the SKT one and now the last game we played. So yeah, I think we have just been taking a lot of bad decisions. One could say that two of our games were lost on Herald, for example. So yeah, I think we are figuring out how. I mean, we know how we want to play, but we need to get like shot in the foot a few times, to really realize how it is that we should be playing and what are the mistakes that we should not be making. And yeah, I think it just we need more time, and it's hard to find time right now. So we just need to get the most out of every single game we play and every single game we watch from other teams, and that's kind of what we've been trying to do.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up the early game thing because the analysts on the analyst desk, the casters always keep saying like, man, if G2 just gets an early game lead, and then obviously like the exact opposite happens, you guys fall behind so much in the early game. What is it about the early game that is causing you guys to struggle so much?
Well, there might be a trend that we had Ivern and Nunu in a lot of the games. So yeah, I think just having an early game jungler always helps with the early game, but I also feel like we haven't been playing so well either. Honestly, falling behind early game is not the end of the world. Look at SKT; they lose a lot of early games. I mean, they also stomp a lot, right? But I think the main thing is that once we fall behind, we are not patient enough, and we don't make the enemy team sweat enough for the win. And I think today against TSM was the first game where we actually made them sweat, and that's kind of what we aim to do.
G2 reminds me a lot of TSM in that I think there's always a lot of hopes for both of your teams, and then you guys go to international events and just seem to play worse than normal. No offense, but you kind of admit that you aren't playing up to par. And I asked Hanser about why it is that he thinks TSM just struggles at international events, and he didn't really have a good answer. I'm curious if you can identify why G2 seems to also not play to sort of the dominant performance that you show in Europe.
Well, it's much easier to beat your European counterparts, or I guess for NA is the same. When you're just the better team or the more well practiced team, you make the most out of your practice, and you're just also the better players, and you just figure out your opponents since you have a whole few months to figure them out, and you're used to how they play. So once everything is on the line and everything is on the table, and you know how they play, they know how you play, then the better team ends up winning. And here there's a lot more things that you don't know coming up, a lot of new play styles, new like things that you have to think of on the fly, and I guess that kind of hurts Western teams in general. So I'd say just the fact that a lot of for at least for Europe, I'll talk for Europe. I think that a lot of the European teams, they stick to whatever works for them, and then they just keep playing it and hope for the best. So hey, we're playing this style and it's working, and we're picking these champs and it's working. So let's just keep playing this until it stops working, right? And that's how they run through to playoffs and make it as far as possible. And yeah, once you go into a team that is able to adapt to you and know how you play, then you just like basically eat a wall with your face, and you can't do anything, right? And I think that's kind of what European teams have been struggling with against us. So we have been the guys that are like the wall that makes everyone not win because we figure them out.
Right.
But now that we are playing against other teams, we are trying to be the same wall, and these teams are just rolling over us because they know more. They are better individually. They're maybe better too, and overall we just have to get to their level, figure them out too, and try to get strong too. And yeah, I think the more the tournament goes on, and if we actually get to play a best of series, I hope we can put up a better show. I think TSM will do too.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of how our teams, both TSM and us, are. Yeah, I guess that's a pretty big summary of how it is.
I mean, it's a good answer, I think, because a lot of people try to figure out like what is it about the West that keeps everybody struggling whenever we get to these international events. Now, I did kind of bury the lead because, and maybe this is a tough subject for you. I don't know how you feel about the TSM game, but it was really crazy from a spectator standpoint, right? Like the final moments, especially. So you can walk me through what like the G2 comms were like as you guys are like throwing yourself at the Nexus, like just trying to get the last hit,
Okay, so we were actually really calm. Okay, so we saw that they were making a mistake because they were just going to Drake without getting the midway first. So we decided, okay, well, just let them go Drake and we can just push mid. And then at some point we were like taking mid inhibitor and we were like, I think we can keep going and we can stop their bases. And everyone was like, yeah, let's go, And then once we went into their base, Luca was saying, we can end. But he was really calm, He was like, yeah, we can end. So everyone was like, okay, stop their bases, everything is calm. And then at some point, there was like shouts of like, hit the Nexus! Ah! and then it was not so good. Yeah. That's kind of how it went. That's probably a good summary. And then we tell Trick to like just sneak around, like you can do this. And yeah, even if I redemptioned, which I mistimed it, he would have still not killed the Nexus. He would have been 1 HP. But yeah, I think if we just played a little bit better, I think the call was right. We just like executed poorly. Syndra didn't flash from what I saw. Lucian's positioning was bad because he didn't expect Rumble to come from that way. He thought he would come from the base or something. Yeah. So he could have hit like the Nexus 2 or 3 more times. And if I timed my redemption too, and yeah, I could have just bought more time for everyone. And I'm sure we could have ended.
All right. Well, I'm sure right now Peanut, whenever we went into this game, was 14-0. He's probably like 30-0 now. So we should go back and watch that game. But is there anything you want to say to any of the fans?
I'll say the same I usually say to all the fans that actually support us. It's just thank you for sticking with us. Thank you for believing in us through thick and thin, and just being there. It's really helpful, really encouraging too to see those messages of people that actually care for us, especially when there's so many haters around. So yeah, thank you so much and cheers.
Thank you so much, Mithy, for the interview. It was really fun watching your games today. I know the first one maybe didn't go the way you wanted, but it was still entertaining. For everyone else, you can check out the rest of our coverage of all things MSI here at Yahoo Esports.